In this lecture, you are going to learn how to remove the eye bags in Adobe Photoshop. Coming up. Hey everyone, this is Harshvardhan and welcome to another superb episode. In this lecture, we are going to learn how you can remove the eye bags, which you can see maybe something like this under the eyes easily, and how you can fix them using the clone stamp tool. So for this purpose, we are going to use the clone stamp tool. Clone stamp tool is very important tool for the portrait retouching. So if you are into the portrait retouching, then this tool is a must for you. So we'll take a look at the clone stamp tool first, and then we will just remove these eye bags in Photoshop. So let's get started. Clone stamp tool can be found over here. So you can come over here, select this tool, or you can simply press S on your keyboard. So you can see this is the clone stamp tool, and if you press S on your keyboard, you can simply have the access to this tool. So this is the clone stamp tool, and we have to come on the top where we have again different options. So the first option is again of the presets. So you can see here we have some presets. So again, if you want to create some preset, just click on this page like icon and you can easily create the presets so that you don't have to go through the different settings each time. And here we have the option to select the brush, but I would suggest don't do this. Let it be the default one. However, you can change the size of the clone stamp tool. From here you can change the hardness as well. But as I've already mentioned you in the previous lectures, that if you want to increase or decrease the size, you can use the left bracket to decrease the size and the right bracket to increase the size on your keyboard. So that is the shortcut keyboard command for the increasing or decreasing the brush size. So this works even for the brush tool and this clone stamp tool. So you can use that, and that way you can work faster. And again we have this option, toggle the brush setting panel. So this is of no use. Again, this second one is also of no use. Toggle the clone source panel. So this is again of no use. Don't go into this. Again, the mode are very important. So if you just click over here, you can see that these are all the same layer blend modes which are available for the brush tool or which are available for the layers. So you can see if you come over here, let me create a one blank layer. So if you come over here, you can see here we have the blend modes. So these are the same: normal, dissolve, dark, multiply, etc. And here we have the same modes as well. So these are very useful for the job like this, where we want to remove the eye bags from the model's face. So these modes are very important. So we'll just take a look at this and we'll use it when we are going to remove all of these bags or these bags from the face. And second is of very important, and that is the opacity. So you can increase or decrease the opacity from here, or you can choose the shortcut keyboard command, and that is, if you press 1 on your keyboard, it's going to be 10%, and if you press 2, 20%, 3, 40, 4, 45, 50, 660, and up to 9, it becomes the 90%. And if you want it to back to the 100%, just press 0 on your keyboard and that's going to make it 100%. And a quick tip over here, that if you are working with these clone stamp tool, always keep your opacity minimum. maybe around 30%, because that way it is going to give you the better result and you will have more control over the final result. And if you try to keep it very high like 100%, then you will get the weird results. So that's my experience, and believe me, just always use it at 30%, so that way you can easily get the better result. And again, we have the flow option, so you can increase or decrease the flow opacity from here, or you can choose the shortcut keyboard command, and that is by pressing shift and press 1 for 10%, 2 for 20, and similarly up to 9 you can turn it to 90%, and if you press simple 0 it's going to be 100%. So it works similarly as it works for the opacity. And then we have the option of leave these aligned checked or unchecked. Leave it checked, so don't go into this, it's of no use. And we have the option of sample all layers. Again, this is very important. We have already discussed it, that if you want to take the sample from all of your layers which are over here, and you can see here we have one layer which is absolutely blank. So if we'll take simple from the this layer, current layer, if you select it to the current layer, then whatever you are going to do, it's not going to work. All right, so for that purpose you have to change it to the all layers, and if you select current and below, then it is going to sample from this layer and this layer. And suppose if you have one more layer like something like this, so if I have two layers, then in this case presently if I'm working on the layer 2, it's going to take the sample from this layer and below it, and it's not going to count this one. And in this case we have the transparent pixels or transparent layers, then nothing is going to happen. Okay, so make sure that you always keep it to the all layers, unless you want to use the current and below option and you know what you are doing. And again, this little symbol, this is very useful to ignore the adjustment layers when cloning. We have already discussed this in previous lecture, but let me just show you one more time. If you have some adjustment layers over here, so at this moment we don't have adjustment layer. So suppose you have an adjustment layer, and let's make it little contrasty or brightness. Let's bring down its brightness. So now you can see we have the image which is now darker using this adjustment brush. And if I drag it down to something like this, and now if I zoom in, and you can see I have pressed this, that is it, press this count or ignore the adjustment brush setting or button. So now if I do something like, if I click over here and try to create it, you can see now it's going to give us the different result, weird result. Reason being that now this area is darker, but here it's showing us the lighter result. So what it is basically doing, it basically ignoring this little adjustment layer which was the for the brightness or contrast. So it is not counting that. And if I come on the top and then press it and leave it as it is, like unpressed, now if I do the same thing, so let me just undo it. If I do the same thing, now it's going to paint in the exact way I want. Okay, so now it's not going to make it lighter or darker, so it's going to basically create the same look or going to paint the same source which we have given it or which we want to do this. So always leave it unchecked. So that's why I was saying that always leave it to the default one, but all just change the sample to the all layers. All right, so that's how we can do this. So now let me just quickly undo it, and let's delete all these layers. So that was the actually basics of the clone stamp tool. So that is the clone stamp tool, and now let me show you how you can remove the eye bags. And in the clone stamp tool, you have to define the source from. It is going to take the pixels, and then you have to paint anywhere you want. So to take the sample or define the sample area, you have to press Alt or Option and then select an area from where you want it to take the sample. So in this case, I'll take the sample from this area. Okay, so I'll press Alt or Option and hold and click over this area. So now this sample is now ready. So if I'll zoom in and start painting, you can see it has started painting these pixels over here. And since we have opted for 30% opacity, it's painting little by little. But if we select the 100% opacity, so let me show you. If I select 100% opacity and I take the sample from this area and paint it over here, you can see we get this different weird result. All right, and if I undo it and if I just paint it once again, you will see this effect is too much. But if you have selected the smaller opacity, which is around 30%, then you have the control over your final result. So you can control it and you can paint as many times as you want, and you can get the perfect result. So we'll press Alt again and press the simple over here to take the sample from this area, and then thereafter it works like simple a brush tool and start painting over there. And there is one more trick. At this moment we are using the normal mode of this clone stamp tool, which is over here. Okay, it is the normal mode. But if you want to remove these eye bags, so basically our main purpose is not to remove them completely, because that would look fake and that would not look good. So our main purpose is to fade them. Okay, so if you want to fade them, you have to come over here on the modes panel, and from here you have to select the lighten. So what it is going to do, it is going to basically lighten the area from wherever we are painting. So let me show you. In this case, there is a little line over here. All right, and we want to make it lighten. So we'll take the sample from this area and paint over here. So you can see it has started lightening this area. So we are not completely removing it, just we are lightening it. And similarly over here we can see this area. So we'll take the sample, maybe something around here, and paint little bit over here. So it is going to basically lighten that area. Okay, and this is how you can just lighten it. I'm not just paying that much of attention over here, so you can do it slowly and you can get the better result. So now let me show you once again. And if you before that, if you feel that this effect is too much, you can always lower down the opacity from here. So this is complete 0% opacity, and this is how I increase it little by little. So something like this. I think this one is looking much better. Okay, and or let me increase it even further, something like this. Okay, so now we have the eye bags, but we have just lighten them. And similarly we can work on the second eye, and for that purpose, again, if you want to do the non-destructive editing, create a new blank layer and zoom in take Alt and sample from this area, increase the size of the brush and start painting on that area. Since we are painting with lower opacity, we can control the final result. Okay, so you can see if you turn this on and off, you can see the result. Now we have got somewhat a better result. So earlier this was very dark, these eye bags were very visible, and now we can easily remove them or we can make them lighter, so our model looks natural and it looks good on her face. All right, so this is how we can enhance the portrait just by lightening the eye bags, or you can say completely removing the eye bags. But in this case, it's not completely removal of the eye bags, it's just simply lightening it down so that we get a better natural result. But if you'll completely remove it, you will get weird result and that would not look natural. So this is like a digital makeup. Okay, so even in the makeup, what we do, they do I don't know what ladies does on their face, but they actually use some kind of a powder which lightens their dark circles and just blends the skin from dark to the lighter area, so that it looks even on entire face. So that's how we can do this in the Adobe Photoshop. So thank you so much. I hope you have understood each and everything. But if you still got any question, you can leave that in the comment section or in the question answer section.